from us that we have to fight like hell or we're going to lose something.
If I took the text of that speech and put it in Google, I bet you I could find identical verbiage out of the Democrats about the 2016 election 550,000 times.
Woke streamer Destiny brought on this MAGA guy here, Jesse Murray, I believe, or Jesse Merle is how you pronounce his name. Anyway, this guy Jesse absolutely exposed Destiny for many woke lies, many of them being really destructive, not just to the left wing, but also to the world in general, and dangerous, disgusting lies, things that can get people hurt, and things that I believe have gotten people hurt, such as, you know, the Donald Trump rally where they tried to assassinate him and people in the background got shot and people died. Those types of things are happening. I'm not saying that's 100% Destiny's fault. He's not the one that was there pulling the trigger, but it's because of the rhetoric that Destiny puts out there and the lies that people like Destiny put out there as well. People like David Pakman and Hassan Piker and Vosh and all these people. And this guy, this Jesse guy, goes on Destiny's show and exposes all of these woke lies to Destiny's face, leaving him stunned. Let's get into this clip here, where Destiny gets destroyed on his own show for his woke lies.
Ability anymore.
Is there any single thing that you could see or be shown about Trump that would make you think, okay, maybe this guy's not a good guy?
Of course.
Like, what would you have to see? Like, what situation? We can do the Jan 6 stuff if you want. We can do foreign policy if you want. We can do like any topic, any individual thing.
There's literally not a person on earth that has any kind of carte blanche with me. Like, I'm not. This is what I'm saying. You see a guy who gets killed as their side. Like, and he likes Trump, so like their side. It's like such a weird. I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to even respond to that. Like, I don't see people as like, oh, that person's a Democrat, and then like that's where like the conversation stops. I find it actually really bizarre that people make decisions about whether or not they like people or want to have them in their life based on what like politician they like. Like, to me, it's as insane as if you week to week watch like Survivor with your neighbor and you're like, oh, I like Rick, and they're like, okay, oh, I like Nancy.
We're talking about presidents, okay?
No,
so
I know
we can do okay. On January 6th, Donald Trump watched the Capitol burn for 3 hours. And he sat there and watched and did nothing until the very, very, very end. He finally sent a tweet telling people to go home. You don't think that was an abdication of his duty? You don't think he was watching his own vice president come under attack? You don't think that
this is what I'm saying. There's no point in us talking about January 6th at all. Like, just
because you're uncomfortable, because you know that the facts don't support you.
Oh, no, it's not because I'm uncomfortable.
Because Donald Trump is...
I'll say things, you'll go, that's not factually accurate. You'll say things, I'll be like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I can prove every single thing I say. There's like 50 million witnesses to every point that I say. All you have is fantasy on your end. Right? You don't have any facts. Okay, what do you think is one thing we would disagree with that I couldn't very easily, instantaneously prove that you would have no evidence for?
I've looked at the Jan 6 stuff. I have looked at it, and I've seen the stuff that you've talked about. The cops let him in. You've got like videos of the cops.
Hold on. The first people. Wait. We can do that right there. How do you think the very first people got into the Capitol?
You mean like what was the first attack?
The first people that got into the Capitol building.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
There were people that broke in. It was Proud Boys that broke in with a riot shield. That's on video. We can see them breaking in. There are people that have been arrested. I think he actually just got sentenced like yesterday, breaking into the building. We can watch all of that on video.
Whether or not it's actual people or Antifa dressed up as Trumpers, and then Trumpers come on. The whole thing is like people are not. Why you
do you see what's happening? I can't tell if you're aware of your own like mind rot right now. You keep pivoting away to these generalized points. Okay, very specifically, the guy that broke in was not Antifa. There was no Antifa there. Multiple people.
I'm not saying that.
Have said that like these are Trump supporters. It's not Antifa. These are patriots on the day of. The guy that broke in was not Antifa. Well, I can give you the name. I can show you the sentencing. It's not Antifa. None of these people are Antifa.
So you think that there is no reasonable scenario where this was a thing? Like, human beings are not challenging to manipulate. If you have a group of fired up people, it doesn't take a whole lot of people to incite them into doing things if that's what your goal is, in order to give you a reason to get rid of Trump and then take him off social media. They needed a reason to kick him off social media because even if he's not the president, he's still too
The people that made plans to do this were the Plan Boys, and they did this over a month in advance. We have all the signal calls. We have all of the group text chats. We have the plans that they'd made in advance. Like all of this.
The FBI couldn't under oath say that they did not have people in the crowd who were there specifically to instigate.
What does any of that have to do with?
I really wish this J6 stuff would have never happened, because it just gives people like Destiny this thing that they can endlessly argue, because there are parts about this that neither side can prove, right? For me, like I said, I wish it would have never happened. I just wish it would never happen. It would be so much easier to just destroy people like Destiny for all the lies that he tells about Donald Trump and Joe Biden and everybody else, right? But since it did happen, I think it's pretty obvious, and I don't want to go too far into it because you can't, which kind of further proves my point. I do think that this guy, what Jesse is saying here, is correct in that I think there were people there who were simply there to incite the attack, right? Incite people to break in. And I think that's proven by, if you just look at who got charged and who wasn't, right? There were certain people there, we won't name the names, that were very obviously there. They weren't wearing any face covers. They weren't trying to hide their identity. They were very obviously there, that were inciting and chanting certain things, trying to get people to break in and do things that they weren't really there to do, who never got charged at all. And I think that's pretty obvious evidence that they were there simply to incite people to do things. I don't know if they were planted there by the CIA, by the US government. I don't know if they were there, planted by Antifa. I think it's very obvious that they weren't part of the Proud Boys. They weren't part of the Republican Party. They weren't the right wingers, Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that and what you think went down on that day. With all that being said, I really wish it would have never happened, because if J6 would have never happened, people like Destiny would have no ammunition. People like Destiny, David Pakman, Hassan Piker, Vosh, none of these people would have any ammunition against Donald Trump. The only ammo that they would have left is the BS, trumped up charges that they tried to place on Trump that never actually went through, nothing ever came about from those things. That's the only thing that they would have. Whereas now they have this thing that they can always retreat back to in the J6 situation. So I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments, though.
Why would the FBI ever publicly declare where they have an informant or not have an informant? And what is that? We don't need the FBI there. Donald Trump was inciting people. Alex Jones was inciting people. Nick Fuentes was inciting people.
Alex Jones was telling people, do not cross this barrier. They're tricking you into doing this. Don't do it. He was literally standing outside saying, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in.
At one point after, when he realized it, shit was fuck, yes, but Donald Trump was marching with all of them
going onto the grass.
Alex Jones was there with the loudspeaker, marching, walking down to the Capitol with everybody.
Walking peacefully down to the Capitol is a lot different than telling people to go inside. And when people started crossing barriers to go onto the grass, he was telling them, don't do it. He saw exactly what was going to happen. Alex Jones is totally batshit, but he's right a lot.
The very first, do you acknowledge that the very first people that got into the Capitol building, the very first person in was a rioter breaking in, with a riot.
What does that have to do with Trump, though?
Hold on.
I'm not saying
I'm just telling, because hold on. You made one claim. You made one claim about how the police let them in. The first people into the Capitol building were people that broke into the Capitol.
What about all the people who got let out of jail when the videos?
What does that have to do with anything? Wait. What does that have to do with anything? You don't know all those cases. I don't know why you ever bring them up. The very first people into the building. Do you acknowledge that the very first people in were people that broke through the windows? You can watch videos on it if you want.
I don't acknowledge that because I don't know.
Okay, if you don't even know the first people in, how do you have any opinion about this at all?
How do I? If there's a pattern of things that very clearly lead to an assumption that there was something much dirtier going on, like cops letting people in, like video.
But you don't even know any of the, how can you have a pattern if you don't know any of the underlying facts?
I do know the facts. I've seen the videos of security guards walking these groups of guys around the thing. And then why is the shaman, why did he get let out of jail again?
Wasn't he convicted?
And then he got let out of jail when the full, record of video footage came out. They just straight up let him out. When does that?
Yeah, I mean, he's still out right now. He's free. And that's a great point by Jesse there. When Destiny's trying to ask him, if you don't even know the first people who got let in, how do you know why are we even having this conversation? And the thing is, I'm sure that Jesse has seen all the same videos that Destiny has seen. But when there is this massive pattern of lies and deceit and dishonesty, misinformation, all these things from the left and from the US government over, and it's like every single time they lie, they're never not lying. And so why would you ever believe anything that they put in front of us, especially when we've seen things, the same type of evidence we've seen from when Tucker Carlson leaked those tapes, right? And all the other tapes that we've seen of these security guards, maybe they broke in or whatever, but once they were inside, they were shown around as if they were on a tour. That's on tape as well. Why is Destiny not talking about that at all? Why is he talking about the first entry? Why is that the most important part. They obviously didn't care too much about the first entry being by force. If once they get inside by force, they're getting shown around as if they're on a tour of the Capitol building. Why is that not being brought up? But I do think it's a good point by Jesse that he's making to Destiny here, and that if there's this massive pattern of lies and deceit, why would I believe anything that you're saying?
That happened in the American justice system. We're like, oh, this guy's innocent.
I'm not aware of what you're talking about. The January 6th rioter was sentenced to 41 months in prison. I don't know what you mean about
let out. Tucker Carlson did the expose with all the full breadth of footage from the January 6th, and he was shown.
Tucker Carlson did not give you the full breadth of footage. Tucker Carlson gave you a heavily edited, like 2-minute splice of him being led to the Senate chambers once the building was already broken into.
Enough footage for him to just be let out of jail a week later.
He wasn't let out. He served his time.
No.
Okay.
No, the shaman got released. And anyway, it doesn't matter. January 6th is a single incident, and my contention is that it's not. Trump certainly did not have any intention of leading some kind of riot insurrection into the Capitol. Like, if someone goes to the Capitol building and they attack police, they should go to fucking jail. We agree on that. But you're connecting this, assuming that the Proud Boys did go in first. That is not on Trump as an insurrectionist, because he was leading a protest that he never gave even a word of instruction that sounded like, hey guys, let's get in there and go fuck shit up. Let's take this place over. It's like, it's ridiculous. Everything that he said was the exact opposite of that.
No, that's what Trump said for basically his entire speech. That's almost exactly what he said. Yeah.
Then why didn't he get charged? Because they would have charged him.
What is having to get charged? That doesn't influence whether or not he said these things during the.
I mean, if a president calls for an insurrection, he probably should get charged. Also, it's funny how Destiny just immediately pivots off of with the QAnon shaman. He got charged, right? He served his time. He served 41 months in jail or whatever he said, which I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I honestly don't know. But he was super into that fact whenever he could have made the point that the QAnon shaman served his time, right? He got charged. And all of a sudden, whenever Jesse's like telling Destiny that if Donald Trump really would have called for an insurrection, he would have gotten charged, which is true. They would have 100% charged him. But then Destiny all of a sudden is like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Getting charged with something doesn't mean anything at all. What does that have to do with it? It's so funny how they just pivot. It's so bad faith, man. It's unbelievably bad faith.
During his speech at the Ellipse.
So you think that the attorney general or whoever would have been responsible for prosecuting Trump at the end of the January 6th hearings, you think they'd just let him off the hook if he said something that equated to...
It's not about letting somebody off the hook. Taking somebody to court and trying to charge them with a crime relating to inciting a riot, that's a really, really, really high standard, right? You're talking about the Brandenburg test here for a standard of whether or not you can criminally charge somebody. But whether or not somebody can be criminally charged because you don't know if you would convict in front of a jury beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't mean a person didn't do a thing.
I didn't say didn't. Well, I don't think
you did. You just presented that as evidence. You were like, well, why didn't they charge him with a crime? Like, Donald Trump has used so much rhetoric that was very obviously leading. I mean, everything that he said, the people walked from the speech to the Capitol building, and then the rioting continued and people broke in. That's exactly what happened. Did this all just happen on mistake, by accident? It just happened to be that people broke into the building and the certification got delayed?
Peacefully walked down to the Capitol. He never gave any instruction to go through barriers.
He said that one time, 20 minutes into an hour-long speech. The rest of it was...
Where in the speech did he give instruction that said, let's go attack police officers and break into the Capitol?
He didn't say, let's go attack police officers and break into the Capitol, but he used speech saying that you have to get tougher, that if you have to fight or you're going to lose your country, that it's a corrupt election that was stolen and that we can't allow these people... Quote, if we allow this group of people to illegally take over our country because it's illegal, when the votes are illegal, when they get the way they... reading his shit. When the way they got there is illegal, when the states that vote are given false and fraudulent information, all of these things are about how the election has been stolen. They're stealing our country from us, that we have to fight like hell or we're going to lose something.
If I took the text of that speech and put it in Google, I bet you I could find identical verbiage out of the Democrats about the 2016 election 550,000 times. That is exactly
1,000% correct. That's a great point. 1,000, and Destiny has nothing to say. He has nothing to say to that because it's a great point. Everything that they accuse Donald Trump of doing, they have done themselves, if not worse, right? It's literally every single thing, like clockwork, right? Weaponizing the DOJ against his political opponents. Donald Trump has not done that not even anywhere near to the extent that the left has done that against Donald Trump. But they accuse him of doing a threat to democracy. I would say a pretty big threat to democracy would be weaponizing the DOJ against their political opponent in Donald Trump. That's what they did. And yet Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Saying that the election is stolen and rigged. That's something that the left would never do, right? Except Hillary Clinton literally did it the election before, and not just Hillary Clinton, but many of those Democrats did that same exact thing that were agreeing with Hillary Clinton in the election before. So absolutely wild, man. Great job by Jesse, though. He did great, absolutely dismantling all of Destiny's woke lies here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Destiny versus his MAGA guest Jesse here. I think Jesse wiped the floor with Destiny, but I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments about this whole Destiny versus Jesse Merle, I believe is his last name, situation.